Well, hello there, football friends. This is one of the biggest catches for Keepie Uppies. Tonight we're joined by the first ever CEO of NIFL, Gerard Lawlor. Gerard talks us through his footballing journey. Tots gives him a grilling, some interesting questions, and Gerard replies with some fantastic, passionate answers. So Gerard's now a new football friend, and I think he'll all agree after listening. The football in this part of the world is on the up, and no mean feat. This man has put his life, soul, and passion into it. So enjoy the listen. Shout out to Tots. It's technical difficulties. I couldn't join them, but I listened throughout the original recording, and it's really a top drawer interview. So remain awesome, football friends. Enjoy the chat. All feedback welcome.
Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.
Okay, Gerard, thanks a million for coming on to Keepie Uppies. Appreciate you taking the time out, especially after just coming back from your sunny holidays. So we're going to start you off with a nice easy one. We like to kind of break you in, get hopefully a good first touch or a strong tackle, whatever it may be, whatever position you would have played in. What team would you have supported when you were growing up, and I suppose who would have been your football hero?
Firstly, now it's a pleasure to be here. No problem whatsoever. The earliest football memories that I have, and it's just beautiful because I remember early on, I have a vision of childhood where actually being at Solitude, and my dad bringing me to Solitude is probably my first football memory. Now, the memory I have in the vision I see in my head is the inside of the social club. I don't know if they really made it outside or not, but I always remember being in the bar. And the second memory I probably have is I remember my mum bringing me to, it used to be in Belfast here where we have Primark, and we have the Primark building. I remember growing up, there used to be a Lifestyle Sports on the third floor and the top floor of that building. And one day, stupidly, my mother bringing me into Lifestyle to try and buy me a Cliftonville kit, which obviously in those days, Irish League kits never really, they weren't there in replica form. And I get palmed off with a Man United kit because it was the same colour.
Oh dear God, sorry about that.
Exactly, no, like that's how much my parents love me. So I suppose I went through a bit of and I think at that stage it was about 6 or 7. I think it was my first communion money maybe I was trying to spend. So that genuinely is a memory that I have. So probably spent the last part of my early teens following Man United. I've done a full circle of that now, though you'll be glad to know. So that was my sort of, Cliftonville was sort of there from early days, but through a Man United phase, growing up in school, it was probably a fair bit of, boy supporting Celtic. I always remember one teacher saying one day, you've came in, not the other people, you've come into school dressed in Celtic gear. Do you think they're just going to come and pick you up or something? So probably would have went to a few early days, went to a few Celtic games. And then as sort of my adult life sort of, and I left school and I was working, and I got involved, a guy I worked with, probably was about 16, 17 after I left school. He was in a supporters club at Cliftonville. And I'd started socially on a Saturday afternoon going to games with him, and then joined a supporters club, and it really just took off from there. So I suppose Cliftonville was in my life, and Irish League football was in my life early on, and then I came back, and probably since those early days of going to Cliftonville, in around, well, I've been about 17, so I'm 47, I'm not as old as what I look, so about 30 years then, and my football journey with Cliftonville has just been a whirlwind and a fantastic experience. And I have such a passion for Irish League football. I just think I love it. The camaraderie, the togetherness, everything that it gives to people. And when you think the dark days we had to come through, the relationship of clubs, I'm just a big lover of Irish League football.
And do you have any kind of standout memories of those times growing up watching Cliftonville? Is there any kind of standout moments of games, goals, success?
I suppose there was actually a memory Cliftonville did yesterday. Cliftonville do this goal of the day or goal of, and it was a Ron Manley goal that we at the time beat Linfield 1-0 at Windsor Park that the late Ron Manley, God rest him, scored. And I think we probably won chance in our box, and it was like the Alamo when it was the first time in X amount of years that we'd beaten Linfield. That's probably what gave me the bug. I remember that Saturday afternoon, and that sort of really where I sort of started to get into it. So there was a lot of darker days for Cliftonville, and I think you know the older supporters like me remember the days and where Cliftonville have come from. There was more painful days than happy days, but that was always one that sort of just stood in. And I suppose the thought process that I've always had in my head is, you know, for me, and I don't follow English football, or I wouldn't follow English or Scottish football now. You know, if you said to me, who do you support? And I know I'm in a role now and I have to be objective in everything I did, but I would be lying if I said I'm not a Cliftonville supporter, because I am a Cliftonville supporter and I'm very proud to be a Cliftonville supporter, but I have to be objective in the job that I do now. So Cliftonville's my team. They're my local team. They're a team that I can associate with. They're a team that, you know, I think are part of the community, as all Irish League clubs are, because they have this almost imaginary star of English Premier League football that I watch a fair bit of, and I'll go to games in England. I find it really hard to sort of interact and feel part of an English club, because they're now just massive monopolies, where I think local clubs are really, they are our clubs. They are your local club. They're part of your community. They're part of, you know, the problems that we face in daily life. And I think that's what they offer us so much. And that's the attraction, most definitely for me anyhow.
Yeah, and I suppose even sometimes now, if it's very odd, I suppose, when I go to a Liverpool game, because it's pretty expensive to say the least. But you know, it's almost like a big show now. You know, going to an English game, and as you said, there isn't maybe that connection that you have with the team, as opposed to when I think back to whenever my dad was taking me to Mornview Park to watch Glenavon, and you had the burger stand, and you felt so close to the players, and all the fans knew each other. It was all regulars that you were kind of bumping into, and even when you went to maybe away games at Shamrock Park, you know, and you know, that's I suppose always my memory is just that real strong connection that you had with the players, and I suppose that's why I love the local game. But as I was kind of saying to you earlier, then I kind of find that I lost touch with it because of the football in the afternoons, you know. But
And I think you're right now. And I mean, like, and I'm very fortunate. Football has been very good to me in my life. I have, you know, I'm the first to admit that. I put a lot in, and you know, I worked very hard, and I've made sacrifices for football. But, you know, football overall has been good and has given me some great opportunities and some amazing memories. And probably some of the highlights of my life so far have been involved around Irish League football. And I was at a match last season that, you know, I'd gone to Manchester City, and Manchester City were playing West Ham, and I remember sitting, and like, I'm in the best seats in the house. I'm in the second row of the director's box on the halfway line at Manchester City, and I remember there was people behind me, and like, they never watched the match for a minute. You know, it was corporate. It's a bit like, it reminds me of the Roy Keane Prawn Sandwich Brigade. They could have been at a pop concert. They could have been at show jumping. They could have been at anything, because the football is a lot corporater now. We're an Irish League. We don't have that. You know, to stand in your local club with your neighbours or people that you know and interact with the community. I think probably the English clubs did have that in previous years, but they have lost that also. And I still think that's the unique journey, and it's the unique offering that Irish League is able to give. And the product now is so much better. Let's be honest. The product maybe over the past years hasn't been brilliant. I think now that we have such a wonderful product, if we could just improve the facilities, we can really grow. And I think this league of ours now is at the threshold of really growing and going to another level. If we can just get our ducks in a row, and and I mean this, I'm not only saying it as cliche, it's a privilege for me to lead the organisation that I'm so lucky. And as you said to me, I've just come back from holidays. I mean, going into work today it doesn't feel like going to work. I'm so lucky to have the job that I have and doing something that I really love and I have such a passion for. And I don't think I pinch myself some days to say how lucky I am to run this league and see where it is. And don't get me wrong, there's some days I want to jump out the window. Today was a good day. But, I am privileged to do what I do, and I say I just think the Irish League is about to go to another level if we could just get some further support from government.
And yeah, we'll maybe touch on that later on. So what about actually your own playing career? Did you have much of a playing career? Did you kick about with mates, or did you play for any kind of local sides in your early teens, late teens, or?
Now, have you not seen the shape of me? So that'll give you the answer.
Oh well, yeah, you haven't seen the shape of me and Richie either. Both of us playing over 35. So
probably growing up, I always would have played football, but probably more street football. I wasn't really involved in in a lot of clubs. I would have played for the youth club, and I probably during my teen years and secondary school years, I was a goalkeeper. And I don't know if that was because it was wide, because I was never tall, but I probably would have been a goalkeeper in the school team and around some of the community centre stuff and in the street football, because we played football morning and night in those days. Never, for some reason, I don't know why, I was thinking this earlier when you sent me some of the information, just never got involved in teams, but would have played constant football in the street, in school and in community centres, and probably during those teen years I was a goalkeeper at that point.
So you never thought then about maybe working towards first team keeper for Cliftonville or anything, or no, just didn't work out?
Those days had all gone by that stage, by the time I progressed that level.
Very good. So
football always would have been in my life. Football was always a very important part of growing up, and I grew up in an area of Belfast where there wouldn't have been a lot of facilities. We played in parks, probably would we brushed the broken glass off the park and whatever. And I'm proud of my upbringing. I come from North Belfast originally. We grew up during troubles and whatever in those days. Thankfully, they never affected my family, and we had a good upbringing and a good family life. But football was always, all we did was play football. And, I remember my mum and dad lived in like a sort of an area, and we had a great wall outside our house for playing football, but we two old dads who lived next door to us, and they used to come out and shout when we were playing football. So as I get older in life now, and kids in my street play football and kick the ball against the wall, I understand what the ants used to go through, because I could never understand that.
No, but it's even clear just listening to you, sort of obviously how passionate you are. Yes, you mightn't have played football for too long or for too many teams, but obviously you have a real passion for football, and that's been instilled in you from getting that unfortunate Man United top in lifestyle sports.
Exactly.
It's just a pity lifestyle sports isn't there, because that pre-mark, Louise has me down there anytime we're in Belfast, and you're just, oh goodness, get me out of here. So I just wish that lifestyle sports was still there.
But that's where it is now. Well, there's one across the road now I discovered the other day when I was in Royal Avenue. So
right.
you send her in the pre-market, you can go to lifestyle across the road, and that'll get you out of it.
And get my Liverpool top. But it's funny, I was saying to you earlier, although I kind of grew up kind of a Glenavon fan, yes, maybe lost touch as I got a bit older playing football myself, but I was saying to you about my principal who you would have been good friends with Sean McLean, and I can always remember we went to. He took me to along with actually Nell and Nell's sister to watch Cliftonville Ballymena at Windsor Park, the County Antrim Shield final, which Cliftonville won as far as I can remember, mid-90s.
Right.
But when we were coming home,
penalties, did we win in penalties that night?
yes, I do believe so. Yeah, it went to penalties, extra time, and everything. Because I remember just being home really late as well, which was great. Because usually I wasn't allowed out past 9:30, so that was fantastic. But I remember just a funny story. Sean used to stop off at his mum's house just to pop in to see how she was. So I had my raincoat on because I think it was a real miserable day, and I had my Patrick Berger beanie hat on because it was pretty cold as well. And I just remember I said I was going to pop in to use the toilet. So I went into the bathroom in Sean's mum's house, leaned over to flush the toilet, and next thing, my Patrick Berger beanie hat fell into the toilet.
Oh,
and I thought, oh my God, how do I approach this? I can't flush the toilet because it's going to clog the toilet up. How can I go out and say to my principal about my Patrick Berger beanie hats fell into his mum's toilet? So I just had to tell him. It was the most embarrassing thing ever. And so that's always my memories of. I remember very little of the actual match, but I always remember my Patrick Berger beanie hat just ending up in Sean McLean's mum's toilet. It was embarrassing stuff. I don't even know why I'm telling you this now. I know the whole world knows it, but there you are.
No, well, the only thing is you probably couldn't have told it then as your mom or someone who had been so great about it, because he's an absolute legend, Sean McLean. He's such a gentleman, and as I said to you earlier, it was so funny. Could you just text me about him today? And I was just about to have a meeting with Niall, his son, who's now working for the IFA, and he was coming into my office. I'm like, oh, there's something funny going on here. So there is. So it's a small world in Northern Ireland.
And he's handy on the guitar as well, Sean. Don't know if you know that. Kumbaya, that was his regular in class. I think that was more like if the class was getting a wee bit rowdy, right, we'll whip out Kumbaya here just to settle him down for 5-10 minutes, and it worked a treat. Quite a relaxing tune.
I've only seen him with a golf club in his hand. You seen him pop with that either?
Very good. So to move away then, obviously, from your short playing career, how then, of course, you then became chairman of Cliftonville. How did that then come about, or how did you kind of work towards that? And what was that like? You must have been, growing up a Cliftonville fan, that must have been almost a dream come true, being in that position. I'm sure quite stressful as well, but it must have been a privilege.
Look, it was a great privilege. How did it come about? It was definitely never anything I worked towards. As I said to you earlier, going back sort of, I joined the supporters club, but it was more for, to be truthful, to get out drinking on a Saturday afternoon. We used to meet in a great bar in West Belfast, and I sort of became more prominent in that supporters club. Was where the journey took me. So sort of just turning up to get drunk on a Saturday and go to the games, and then back to the club. I think I became treasurer of the supporters club, and then became chairman of the supporters club. So I probably was involved in running the supporters club, and then Cliftonville and still are to this day are one of the I think them and Linfield, are the only two members clubs maybe left in Northern Ireland in the Premier League. And so I became a member of the football club, so I became a member of Cliftonville, which is really the people that own the club. And then somehow, over years, I was elected to the board. There was a bit of a coup at Cliftonville in sort of the early 90s, that a group of supporters had wanted to change the fortunes of the club. Because like anyone that knows the history of Cliftonville in those days, they were fighting relegation every other year. I think we fought relegation, and then we won the league, and then fought relegation the year after. So late 90s, there was a bit of a coup around Cliftonville to change the fortunes of the club and modernise the club in some way. So I was involved in that in the periphery, and then was elected to the board. And to be honest, I was happy with that. And then the chairman who was there he had stepped away. And I don't know if I wasn't fast enough to get out of the room that night, or I was the last man standing. But obviously, I was asked to take on the chair on an interim basis, which I did for a few months. And to be honest, you know, I was relatively young at that stage. I was in my early 30s, so to be chairman of a football club in those times was, if I'm very honest, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. There was probably a wee bit of, I'll do this, sure, it'll be all right, it'll be a bit of crack. And then the sort of, you know, at a lot of clubs in those days, the tax man woke up in the clubs in the Irish League that he had never looked at, and, you know, clubs started getting lots of bills and lots of debts that maybe they weren't aware of or thought would never come their way. So there was probably a very daunting experience for me around those times of, you know, where is Cliftonville, where is it going, how much money, and, you know, there's some very, very hard, difficult, dark days of waking up in the middle of the night and worrying of where players' wages were coming from in 2 days' time. And I'd say in those days, probably most Irish League clubs were the same. And so I admire and I have a lot of admiration for anyone that puts their head above the parapet and gets involved in any sort of a football club and volunteers in a football club, but especially in a Premier League club with the, you know, the finances that would have came around it in those days. Somehow, I suppose, I often say there was the magic of the late Tommy Breslin and a great group of players that came together. And, you know, those Cliftonville teams of the 2012, 13, 14, when the club had really started to win 2 league titles. Probably earlier that Eddie Patterson did a great job or in early the sort of 2018-19 period. Sorry, 2000 and around what is it then? It's 2010, 2009, sorry, around those times. So the club had started to progress, and we progressed a wee bit every year, and then we won the league titles, and we started to clear a lot of the debt, and you could start to enjoy it a wee bit. But I have to say, some of them were very tough days. They were very dark days for a number of reasons. But really, the club was debt ridden. The club was totally ridden by debt, if I'm honest with you. It was just hard work and dedication, not of me, but of a lot of individuals that cared about the club that worked really hard. And I spent then 15, 16 years as chairman of the club. That was, you know, I look back now and it's a real privilege, it's an honour, and I look at nights where we played Champions League football and the standout nights like the night we played Celtic at Celtic Park in the Champions League. That was probably a dream come true for a lot of Cliftonville supporters and a dream for me. And as I said earlier, Cliftonville and Irish League football have given me some tremendous memories, taken me all over Europe. But it wasn't always rosy in the garden, I suppose. William said there was a lot of it was dark, hard days, and thankfully it's great to see the club, not just Cliftonville, all Irish League clubs in the financial state that they are at the minute, because the clubs are in a really, really good place, and they have worked, and I hope they can just flourish further going forward. See, you ask me questions and then I go off on a tangent. And
No, not at all.
I'm going, what did he ask me at the start? I have to try to think, how do I get back to what he was asking me about?
Not at all. You answered perfectly. It's just great listening to you. And actually, you kind of answered part of my next question. I was just going to say you've worked with some excellent managers, and I can't get you on without speaking about Tommy Breslin. You know, I'm sure you probably find it difficult to talk about him, but just give us sort of, for those of us that don't know him, I obviously don't know him, but I know obviously he done a wonderful job at Cliftonville. But I suppose not only just what sort of a manager was he, but also, you know, you hear so much about Tommy Breslin, the person, what a lovely man he was. Tell us about him.
Bressie was just such a unique character who, he's just a lovely way about him. You know, he's just somebody, I mean, I have a reputation of being a wee bit sharp and a wee bit blunt and straight, and I suppose sometimes I can be. I don't mean to be, but it's the way I am. But Bressie was just a unique person where everybody would want to be Tommy Breslin. He just had a smile in his face. He'd a great outlook in life. He always seen, I suppose, the goodness in everyone, the goodness in every situation. Had a real passion for the game, was in a way, a happy-go-lucky character. I suppose he's just somebody we all wanted to be or wanted to be associated with. And I'm privileged and I'm very lucky and proud, and I know there are strong words, but we not only did we ever, was he the manager and I was the chairman, after we became firm friends and we continued to socialise together and I can't, it's hard to describe the individual, and you'll get from me that I'm struggling a little bit because none of us are perfect, but he was just a really, really nice person. He was just a really nice guy who, as I say, had unique talent and unique ability to turn situations into so enjoyable. And get on with it. And as I say, he'd done some wonderful things at Cliftonville. And I remember, I never forget, one of the toughest things I had to do when I was at Cliftonville was Eddie Patterson was the manager before Brezzy, and the board had decided that they wanted to change manager. So, of course, as the chairman, I'm the boy who's sent along to deliver the message on a Friday night. And I was quite young and naive at the times, and there's a lot of things I regret how we did things and how things worked out at Cliftonville. And I remember the next day having to ring Brezzy and saying, look, what Eddie went last night, and we need somebody to take the club. And he was such a loyal guy. He was like, no, I can't. I've got to go too. And I talked to him and I'm basically begging him, saying, Brezzy, I need a couple of weeks, please, mate. I'm really, with nothing else, please, with a game on Monday night, I think, please just take the team on Monday night for me, please. And he agreed to take the team on Monday night for me. And I remember we played Dundalk in the old Satanta Cup. And then after Monday night, I sort of begged him again to take the team to the end of the season. And it all sort of took off from there. But as I say, just a great guy to be around, to be out, to listen to stories, to hear his crack. And it's, I like to remember the good times with Brizzy. Yes, he was taken from us far too often, or far too young, but it was a privilege for people like me to say Tommy Breslin was my friend and I got to spend so much time with him. And even after he'd gone from Cliftonville, he never, even at the time when we were winning titles, he never wanted the limelight. He never wanted, he'd have done anything. He just had a quiet life. And I'll say it again, he was just someone we all wanted to be. And someone that the world it's a worse place for not having people like him around, but I like to remember the good times, and we had some wonderful, wonderful good times together. And of course for years Tommy didn't drink either. So a lot of this was done without, it was never alcohol. Like the best nights out we ever had was with Brezzy, and, he'd no alcohol, and, it's only really in later life he started to have the odd beer, but I don't think I ever seen Brezzy was never drunk. He just had this natural ability to brighten up a room and create crack.
Yeah, just obviously some just special times that they'll be talking about for decades.
Yeah. It really is. It's just, and we made memories. And I always remember one day, I remember the second year, I've told this story, the second year we won the league title, which is 13-14 season, and we were going to Portadown that day to win. And I was driving down the motorway, and I'm telling my wife this story last week, and we're driving down, and just before the apple green, there was a car overturned on the motorway. There'd been an accident on the opposite side of the road as I was driving down to Shamrock Park. And I would have gone in, and the team were out warming up, and I would have went in to see him, and he was in the dressing room, and, obviously we needed to win this day to win the league title. And he says to me, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "What do you mean what's wrong with me?" And he said, "You're sitting there, I'm being honest, I was biting my fingernails. I was sort of, looking a few volume or something, and I'm going, well, Prezi, we're going to, and he says, would you ever catch a grip of yourself and bucking ways up you getting on like that over a football match? But that was him, and he was so natural. And I said to him, he says, here, did you drive down there? And I says, I did. And he said, was there a car overturned at the Apple Green up at there? And I says, did you see that? And he says, well, imagine being in that today. That's what pressure is. This is only a football match. And he could just turn a situation and go, all right, okay, here you go. Where would I rather be? Would I rather be in that car crash and my family in that car crash than, we all worry about football, and football becomes life or death literally for us, so he just had that, and I think he just sort of he just got a group of players that just came at the right time, and he was able to just push them on that extra 10-15%. And he was a tactician. He was just a wonderful individual that just created so many special memories for a group of people of my age, and really projected Cliftonville to the next level. And as I said earlier, we were able to clear a lot of the debt out of those money, and put the club in a good, steady state from then going forward.
Great stuff. Great stories. So we'll move on then to you becoming the NIFL, the first chief executive of NIFL, I suppose. Did you just feel at Cliftonville that you'd maybe taken the club as far as you could? Did you just want a fresh challenge? How did that come about? Or
definitely, I think at that stage I did 13, 14 years at Cliftonville. So for a few years previous, I thought it needed a new direction. I felt I did personally. I hadn't had the enthusiasm that I had previously, and it's a wee bit difficult because, you spent years battling debt, then you win 2 league titles. Where do you go after that? And probably anybody connected with Cliftonville knows this love affair of hatred of the Irish Cup. So it was every year we wanted, I'll stay one more year to win the Irish Cup. And it did get to a stage where, to put a cliche into it, probably it became a chore as much as something really enjoyable. And I was losing a little bit of just, I suppose it being a chore is the best way I could put it. Look, we'd some well documented issues off the field that we had to manage, and we handled them at the time to the best of our ability, but in hindsight maybe we could have handled them better, and so there was a lot of off-field stuff that really was getting me down, and sort of the enjoyment of gone, and achieved. I felt it taking the club as far as I could take it, and I felt that the club needed fresh ideas and a fresh vision, because I thought I'd given my all. And I suppose in a way, it was a strange one for me because I was involved in NIFL. And Andy Johnston, who was the MD at the time, had obviously gone back to the IFA, and the way the NIFL structure is, we've independent directors, and they were very much talking about we need a new CEO. And to be truthful, one day out of the blue, I got a phone call from one of those guys, and were like, have you thought of applying for this job? And I was like, what job? I was like, the CEO, and I'm like, it was my dream job. As I said, this was everything I wanted to do. And for me at that stage, it was like, no, there's no way I couldn't. I'm too invested in Cliftonville. I would always be seen as Gerard Lawlor from Cliftonville. And then it sort of, a couple of our senior clubs actually approached me and were saying, like, so probably 3 or 4 people at this stage had thrown it at me. And I started to sound other people out to say, look, what do you think? And so in a way, I got a lot of encouragement from people within the football family, because I know a lot of people thought, well, what NIFL needed was someone that had knowledge of local football and knew how to run a football club, but they also needed to have a business acumen. And while Cliftonville and all of this, I mean, I'd worked all my life. I worked since the day I left school, and I had a catering background originally when I left school, and then I ended up that I was head of operations at the Grand Opera House. So I had that entertainment, business, marketing background along with the football knowledge. And I sort of played around with it in my own head, but probably never really, give it too much thought. And then I know the guys that were charged with the NIFL recruitment there was a recruitment agency headhunting firm that were basically put in charge of the recruitment process. And I got a call from them one day out of the blue and said, "Look, would you come and meet us?" And I was like, "Aye," and probably I'd gone to the original meeting, and I remember finishing the meeting with this girl and saying, "Look, I know we've discussed all this, but I don't think I want to take this any further because I don't know if I would be seen as the right person and have too much baggage. So, don't be thinking if I'm not the person, I'll not be offended. Don't be worrying about this type thing. I don't know because I was so unsure in my own head." And I left the meeting that day, thought nothing else of it, got on with life, and I suppose a week later, I think I had a call again from her saying, "Look, we would like to have another chat with you, and we would like you to come back in again to see us." I was a wee bit of, "Oh, this shit's getting serious here." Like, this was a bit of a joke that I went to this meeting, and we went back and we had another chat, and there was a bit of a grilling, and then I left again still going, I don't know what this is all about or where it's going to lead to. And then I think it was another week that I got or a couple of days maybe, I got a call again to say, "Look, we want to do formal interviews with a number of candidates, and would you interview for the post?" I don't think I even told my wife that I was going through this at this stage. So I thought, sure, a bit of crack if nothing else. Never heard it, and it's very clear, look, I can't get caught up about this. And I remember I went the day of the interview, and I was late. I was late going to the interview. It was really raining badly, and I met a guy in the city hall that was coming through the city hall, and he sort of couldn't get away. And I remember sitting so relaxed and probably a wee bit blasé because I was like, I'm here for the crack. This is good experience for me because this is maybe something I want to do down the line. Probably though there was a desire within my heart where, in hindsight, when I sit and reflect and look back, like, I just didn't want to get my hopes built up, but this was something I fairly wanted to do, but it almost seemed too much of a dream. Cut a long story short, I did the interview, but I did it very calmly. I wasn't nervous. I just thought, I'll do this and see what happens. And a couple of days later, I got a phone call, and it was, "Look, we want to offer you the job." And then at that stage, there's "Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph and the wee donkey." It's, what? This is serious now. What do I do? And I'm not only saying this because you probably will listen to this. I am very fortunate in life that I have a very supportive wife. I have a wife who would be involved in Cliftonville, and Roisin, my wife, goes to matches, so she's a big interest in Cliftonville as well. So but she's so supportive of me of what I wanted to do. And I'd come home and I said, "Roisin, I've been offered a new job." And like, "What do you mean?" And I then had to tell her the process, and she was like, she was skeptical, and I was very skeptical, as I said earlier, because I would never have been given a fair chance, in my opinion. And I apologise for this, and I underestimated our senior clubs, because they would never accept me, or I could never be seen as a true leader, because I would have been Gerard Lawlor from Cliftonville, who, to be honest, is a wee bit, and I'll admit, Gerard Lawlor is a wee bit of a Marmite character. I think you either like him or you don't. People have I think I have a reputation, and people have a little bit of a sort of thoughts, and I don't mean that in any way I don't mean that in any shape or form of an ego or anything. It just is, I am what I am. What you see is what you get. and I can be a little bit outspoken. And so I just thought, I don't know if football would I get the support? I suppose that's the best way I can put it. Would I have the support? So I suppose after that call, I said, look, I need a few days. This will change my life completely. And the only thing I can say is I'd gone away to speak to some of our senior. Well, I ended up speaking to all of our senior clubs and saying, look, I've been offered this role. What's your opinion? Could you see me doing it? Could you see me would you be supportive? How do I have too much baggage? And probably people who I thought wouldn't have been big fans of mine were definitely, and every one of our senior clubs supported me to the hilt. And people have said, you know, I'm coming up, I think, at the start of October, really. So I'm nearly there a year. The support I have received from our senior clubs is second to none. I couldn't have asked for any more support from the clubs. And as I say, the clubs all gave me their support at the time. They give me their backing, and I accepted the job. And it's the best thing I've ever did in my life. My life has changed drastically, as I say, in the last year. And just before we did this tonight, I was speaking to someone who I worked with in the Opera House, and they were asking how I was, and I said, look, I genuinely have never been happier in my life. I do something I absolutely love. I'm so lucky to have the job that I do. Part of my thought process at the time as well, now, I would have had stuff that I did at NIFL. I had Cliftonville to run, and I had this job in the Opera House. And I thought, well, if at least I all that, I'll have so much more free time. I was going to lose 2 or 3 stone. I was going to go to the gym every day. I was going to have a new lifestyle. I've never blooming worked so hard in all my life, because it is 24/7. But it's 24/7 in something that I really, really love doing, and I have a real passion for, and a real commitment that I want to make a change to all our clubs. And I would hope over the last year, I've demonstrated to our clubs that I'm not Gerard Lawlor from Cliftonville. I've more the offer. I am genuinely a fan of the Irish League. I want to help and develop their clubs. And so far, so good. Yeah, there's things I regret in the last year that I can look back on, but I think we have made a lot of progress. And that's not about me. That's about the team at NIFL, because I'm very lucky to have a very strong team behind me. And, Stephen Mills, our chief operating officer, of Neil Coleman, our head of marketing and communications, that have a lot more knowledge. And those people held my hand throughout the journey. We're lucky to have, Sharon Moore's in the office. Sharon's 30 years experience in Irish League football and has been there since the old Irish League. And has been wonderful, with Darren Vagey, who worked for the IFA for a number of years. So there's a strong team in NIFL, and I suppose if anything, I pulled them together. We've created a bit of a vision. Hopefully they enjoy their workplace. I think they do tell me now that I'm not as bad as what they feared when I was going to come. My bark's worse than my bite, they tell me now. And the clubs, I keep coming back to the clubs. The clubs have created the benchmark. The clubs have risen the benchmark. I often say, in the past, I think our clubs were looking for the league to run the clubs. We're not here to run clubs. We're here to create a framework in order to allow those clubs to grow and develop. And I genuinely believe the sky is the oyster for some of those clubs. And if I'm going to sum it up, I'm just on a bit of a roller coaster at the moment. The crack's great. I say, I love going into work. I love doing what I'm doing. There's good days, there's bad days, and every day, but I just think we have such a bright future in the Irish League, and it's a privilege to lead that organisation and be part of it. And I have a very supportive board. The clubs have been great. We have a very good board at NIFL, good chairman, Colin Kennedy, and they allow me to get on with it and touch wood. And I haven't made too many mistakes yet, and we'll continue to hopefully go from strength to strength and fight for the product and fight for the clubs and give the clubs their rightful place within football in Northern Ireland. That was one of those tangents I just went off on, by the way.
Not at all. No, I think for me, what obviously I didn't know you until I was speaking to you this last sort of 3/4 of an hour, that you are very passionate and you love the local game. So I'm sure that probably came across in your meetings with the various clubs. So even those ones that maybe you thought wouldn't have been big fans of Gerard Lawlor, I'm sure if they would have spent time with you, they would have seen after speaking to you, you love the game, you're invested in progressing football here in Northern Ireland. So how could they not sort of buy into that? So it's great to see. So long may it continue. And with regards to NIFL, then it's obviously been a pretty busy year and a bit for you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I was kind of going to touch on a couple of points before we kind of uh, wrap things up. One is, I suppose, Sunday football.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose what do you see as kind of the plus points? Because I suppose in Northern Ireland you can't please everybody, and I suppose you have to respect everybody. Some people will be for Sunday football, some won't. But what do you see as kind of the real plus points of Sunday football?
I mean, now, be it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday football, I think they're all in one. And it was something you and I were chatting about before we came online. Or
Yeah,
in Northern Ireland, we have such this bottleneck of 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Now, for me, some people have an opinion. The Irish League should be at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and everything else should be outside of those times. That's never going to happen. I think in England it's maybe they've so much Sunday football in England that we don't have. So something has to give, really, is what I'm saying, because we have all this 1.8, 1.9 million population in Northern Ireland, and we're asking them to do all these things, and especially the football fraternity. Because so many people play football on a Saturday afternoon. You can't play football and be in an Irish League game, so something has to give. And I think in this case, it's about, Saturday for me is almost the weekend, maybe as I was growing up and nothing happened on a Saturday and people had so much free time. We don't have that in our lives anymore. And as much as football supporters want, they are football supporters. They're also, we're involved in that leisure point now, and people have so much more to do. And families' time and family pressure is under so much constraints. So what we must do is, and I hate, and I'll say this before, and I genuinely, we hate calling football supporters customers. But we have to look at them as customers, because I think other areas of entertainment treat them respectfully and treat them like customers. It's how can we need to give people football when it suits their lifestyle and at a time that's convenient to them. So be it anybody that plays amateur league or junior football, they're football fans in Northern Ireland. So why put on games when they're playing? Something must give. So we've tried the Friday nights, which are relative. Saturday, we're competing with the English Premiership because, again, there's so many games that are, broadcast now on, is it Amazon Fire Sticks, or, people can't even get their Skybox and all sorted now, and you get all that stuff into your home. So is Sunday a day of opportunity that maybe people aren't as busy, do have a little bit more free time, and is it a day that people can go to football? It's another opportunity. I am not for 1 minute saying that Sunday football is going to be the be all and the end all of football in Northern Ireland, but it does give us a little bit of release, and it's a bit of a novelty factor. We have played 3 games already, so I suppose for me, to take it back a little bit, it goes back to the League Cup final last year between Cliftonville and Coleraine. And when we were trying to fit that in the office, and as I said earlier a little bit, coming from the Opera House, I come from that entertainment background and a marketing background where you marketed shows to sell, and you had to market people, and you have to get people what they want to have. And I remember when we were talking about the League Cup final, and I'm going, so we played the League Cup final on a cold, wet, damp Saturday night at 5:30 on a Saturday evening when it's cold. Who really wants to go to that and be part of that? So we then started to look at, could we play it in a Saturday in March? And I'll never forget, I came into the office one morning and I said to the guys, I've sussed the League Cup problem. And they were like, what? I said, play it Sunday. And they were like, you're mental. And I'm like, well, aye, okay, yes, well, yeah, I'm a bit. But we then looked at the model of Downs. And I said, well, okay, look at the FAI Cup final. So the FAI Cup final Downs says, why is it so successful? So give me the characteristics. And the characteristics were very simple. It's on a Sunday afternoon and it's cheap ticketing. And I said, so let's not try to reinvent the wheel. Let's copy a model, be it for a novelty or whatever, and let's see, can we do that? And that was a massive success for us. I couldn't have asked for any more out of that final than what we got. So we then tried to sell that to the clubs this year to say, well, let's continue with Sundays. And I thought this year, now, look, see if we got a half a dozen or 8 games on a Sunday, I would be happy. Thankfully, Linfield did really well in the first qualifying rounds of Europe. The 3 figures that we got from the 3 first Sunday games have been fantastic. It's showing us that the league and people in the football community in Northern Ireland are happy to go and watch football on a Sunday. They never will the traditional time for playing Irish League football is 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. But some occasions, to maximise attendance and continue growth, we need to look at Friday nights, later on a Saturday or on a Sunday. And I think what we've done is we've broken the mould, we've made Sunday an option, but it's never going to be the long-term lifeblood and survivor of the Irish League. And all I can say is I totally respect, be it the moral, religious, whatever beliefs of some people in Northern Ireland. I totally respect that. But Sunday now we've broke that mould, as I said, and we have opened up that opportunity for people to play football on a Sunday afternoon, should they wish. And maybe at this stage I'm optimistic we might get 12 to 15 games throughout the course of the season. And it's just another area of opportunity of where we're going, and we're releasing some pressure on the bottleneck. I mean, even as you know, at junior level, referees are, we're facing less and less referees coming through. We're able to broadcast more games. I mean, we can't broadcast at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon because there's a blackout. So it's a Sunday afternoon, a better time to show football than going at 5:30 on a Saturday night or 12 o'clock on a Saturday. In my opinion, yes, it is. So that's the reason we have this vision of Friday night, Saturday, and a game on a Sunday, be it once a month, twice a month, over the term of a period, just to give a different time to create. And everybody, I mean, I think we wrote their Premier League clubs this year, and I said to the guys, let's write the clubs and see. And we've 9 clubs come back and say they would like to trial Sundays. Linfield had to play because of Europe. Fur played in Newry City, and the Carrick Rangers, who took on, and they got fantastic results. I still would like to see some more of our clubs. I know Cliftonville they're playing in a Scottish trophy, themselves in Linfield. Next week is the 24th of September, and they're playing 24th weekend. They're playing that game on a Sunday. They're playing Queen of the South on a Sunday at Solitude. So it'll be interesting to see how Cliftonville get on the Sunday in that game. But as I say, Sundays aren't going to be the lifeblood or the big saviour of the Irish League football. For me, that's elsewhere. But it's just releasing some of the bottleneck, create other opportunities. And if there's an audience, and people can go to 2 games. I know people that are now going to a game on a Friday night, a Saturday afternoon, and a Sunday game. So there are 3 matches over the weekend, where if we all play at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, they're just going to a 3 o'clock on a Saturday game. End off.
Yeah, 100%. And I suppose there might be an opportunity to make it almost like a weekend of, I don't know what way you could label it, like a carnival of football. You could have some couple of big games back to back, sort of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday or whatever. So yeah. As you said, there's.
But it's just it's a release period, and it's just trying to give spread it out, because we just can't continue with this bottleneck, and the amateur league and junior football isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think seniors need to be the people to move and see what the benefits are.
Yeah. As you said, kind of the perfect example was that game in March time between Coleraine and Cliftonville. You know, fantastic crowds at it, fantastic game. Maybe not for Coleraine. And even the way it was marketed and advertised, like cheapers, there was billboards all around Lurgan about the match. I think I went into our bathroom and there was a poster about it. I was waking up in the middle of the night. Oh yeah, Colerane's playing Cliftonville. So it's fantastic. But that's, you know, that and the build up to it, the interviews and everything. I suppose that's all part and parcel of what obviously you were trying to do to kind of glamorise the League Cup, which had maybe lost a wee bit of its magic. It was just a fantastic game.
Did, and I mean, we were able to bring, because of say my background in the opera house, and that's how we market shows. You know, for years that's how we tried to sell shows and put bums in the seats in the opera house, and we just used the same model. And to be honest, we had actually brought in some people from the opera house for, you know, we met them. For me, when I arrived in NIFL, there was this. The guys were we didn't talk to anybody. I mean, today we arranged in the office today with two staff going over to the EFL, the Middlesbrough, to do, you know, to look at the Middlesbrough setup. Northern Ireland, I think we're just so parochial. We all think we're in this wee bubble on our own. There's a big world out there that we need to get out and talk. We always try to reinvent the wheel, to have a cliche, but the wheel doesn't really reinvent it. Let's just copy what other people do.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, I think in NIFL that's what we're trying to do. We're not making we're taking chances. Maybe we'll gamble a little bit, and I've encouraged the guys to do that. But there's a little bit of go out and talk to the world, go out and talk to, you know, the FAI, the SPFL, the EFL have been very good to us. These were people that we really never spoke to before. And it's all about letting them know, we're here. We are a player in this, you know, in the United Kingdom, on the island of Ireland, but we're here. We're a major league. You know, we're in a really good place. And that's why I was so disappointed for Linfield that they just weren't able to get over the line, because to get one of our teams into the Conference League playoff groups, or the group stages, just would have been really the icing on the cake and the next sort of big step forward. But look, they've came close, and hopefully one of our teams can go one step further next year.
Yeah, no, it must have been, I'm sure, crushing for the Linfield fans, just the way and the players, of course, the way they kind of lost out on that was, yeah, but they done fantastic.
They did.
Just going to touch briefly just on the stadium fund. What way does that, the £36 million? I know obviously with the weight on the folks on the hill sorting themselves out whenever that will be, but what way does that stadium fund work? You know, does it trickle down? Is it just for Premier League sides? I know a lot of it's going towards the Glentoran, the Oval kind of getting renovated, but does it trickle down into
I think
Championship? Or
I mean, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the whole of football.
Yeah.
You know, and we talk about this 36 million. 36 million isn't going to do anything for us anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, you'll need another podcast if you get me started in this one, to tell you, because we have been so let down by government, by political parties on all sides, in this, and football has been used as political football. So, look, there's been some very good champions, and there's people within politics that tried to help, but overall, we're being used in a political football at the moment, in my opinion, between the building of Casement Park and between DUP and Sinn Féin. And I think it's disgraceful, and I think it's totally wrong in what has happened with it. But you know what? We live in Northern Ireland, and we're never going to change it. Someday, hopefully, they'll wise up. But, you know, 36, we look at the cost of living, we look at you know, I'm having to deal a lot at the moment, the cost of our clubs, and, you know, clubs are facing, and we're having cost of living in our own lives, and things are costing double what they were not too long ago. So look, when Stormont finally get their act together, and the folks in the hill, as you say, get the finger out of their backside and they're ready to talk, it's going to take a lot more than 36 million, because I believe our clubs have built products, they've built community institutions, they're doing amazing work. You look at what our clubs, you know, clubs in your own area, like what Glenavon did during the pandemic, and feeding the local community, and going out with, you know, almost food parcels to people and that couldn't get out, was amazing, and those clubs need rewarded. and our communities. I mean, I said earlier, I grew up playing football on broken glasses on the street. These clubs need rewarded because the game is not about old men anymore. The game is about families. It's about young people. It's about females. But we need facilities. We need facilities to encourage that. And I think if we really, the only thing that is holding the Irish League back at the moment is facilities. I mean, I'm lucky in part of my job as well. I also do some work through the Irish FA with UEFA, and I'm a UEFA delegate. And I was in Bosnia a few weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to go to a big Sarajevo derby, and it was about 13,000 people at this game. And this was, Bosnian football at its best. And I'm going, it was a great occasion and it was a great night. But I'm going, tell you what, our Irish League clubs would give those teams a run for their money. I think the standard of the Irish League, you look at the players from down south in Scotland who now, people used to come to the Irish League when their careers were over. People are now coming to the Irish League to rebuild their careers. You look at the people that have left the Irish League. So the only thing that's really holding us back now to really, I think, increasing crowds further and taking it to the next level is facilities. And someday, I do believe, I am confident someday, the folks in the Hill, they tend to get there in the end, that someday they'll be forced into having to do deals. And hopefully when that deal is done, football, and not, look, we have 44 clubs in NIFL. They're all equal members, so it's most definitely not about Premier League. It's about Championship, it's about PIL, it's about the Ladies League. And then we must remember at the same time, we as senior and we're called the seniors of football. We also have a responsibility to intermediate and junior football because that's where a lot of our players comes from and starts the journey. So we can't be aloft or we can't think we're better than anyone else. So we need to work with the whole game. We need to work with the IFA but it's my job to get as much of the pot for senior football as I can. But I'm very mindful that there's all strands of football. And I think the one thing in football in Northern Ireland, we all tend to fight an awful lot and we all tend not to get on. But see if we could all, not just on a political nature in Northern Ireland, but in the football family, if we all work together and realise there's only one cake and there's a slice of a cake for everybody and everybody gets a wee bit of a cake rather than no cake at all, I think we could all end up in a much better place now.
Yeah, and there's one league that you left out there, Gerard, the over 35s that me and Richie plays for. So don't forget about the over 35s because we still have hope. We still have hope of playing for the Premier League someday.
You see, I factored this into that round. You see, so if we get the facilities right, you can play on the Sundays when nobody else is playing. So don't worry, I have you penciled in.
No, we still have hope of playing Premier League. Look at Mickey Keenan.
Oh, you're playing Premier League. Oh, right up there.
Oh, why? Well, look, Mickey Keenan was still playing and that's for Portdown in his mid-40s. Although he was some player.
I'm with this. I'm with this, boys. Not a problem. Let's see. I still some connections to Cliftonville. I'll see, can I get you as a trial?
Some chance. No, we're going to end on a high here. Just the last wee thing I was going to touch on. You just mentioned their women's football, and obviously the Northern Ireland team done terrifically well. I suppose that'll be an aim of yours as well, just to continue the progression of the women's Premiership. And of course, goodness, there's I don't know how many divisions, and you've got Ballymena and Lauren who's getting promoted up into the Premiership to make up the 10 teams. So I suppose that's a kind of a big aim of yours as well.
Look, I mean, women's Premiership within NIFL is a massive growth. It's really one of the positivities. And I know we were talking off air about, getting to the Euros and I like to say, yeah, NIFL Premiership teams delivered for Northern Ireland. They created the players that got Northern Ireland to the Euros. And it's fantastic that some of the girls are now getting the opportunities to go forward. And women's football's in massive growth. When we arrived at NIFL, I think we had a league a couple of years ago of 6 teams, and there was these 6 girls teams, and the four Belfast clubs were the predominant. And we thought we've got to open this up. So this year we increased it to 8, and thankfully now, along with working with the NIWFA, that are great partners for NIFL. The committee of the NIWFA are fantastic people, and they've a real passion And that's one area of football I think we've joined together. We've shown them respect and they've respected us. And we've sat down lately and we've said, right, okay, what do you have to give us? And next season we'll have 10 teams. So we've gone from 6 to 10 within 2 years. They're our feeder leagues. They're the leagues that are doing all the real hard graft, and they deserve massive credit for what they do in women's football. Those ladies, and you know, it's just fantastic where the women's game is going, and the opportunities now for women that are able to play football, and it's a massive success story for NIFL, and long may it continue.
That's it. I just think it's exciting times for everybody, ladies, men's, and all the various levels of football. So, no, great and nice to end on a positive note. So, Jared, I appreciate the time you've taken out. We've covered a lot there, and we probably could have covered another hour, to be honest with you. But I don't want your wife panicking or worrying where you've got off to.
She's glad to get rid of me at this stage. But no, look, it's been a pleasure. You know, I've enjoyed it. Look, thank you, and thank you to Richie, who is in the background or somewhere
lurking.
Lurking. So, like, thank yous for that and for showing an interest in NIFL. And as I say, you know, I said it during. Look, we can't be elite. We can't think we're better than anyone else. We all have to work together. For the good of football in Northern Ireland. And if I hear anybody that's looking star players on over 35s, you'll be the first person that I give a shout to, mate.
That's brilliant. Happy days. Right, well, here, you look after yourself, and chat to you again.
All the best. Thank you.
All the best. Good luck, guys. Bye.
Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.